Welcome to the first council meeting on January 4th of 2024. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller,
Present.
Councilor Anderbaugh, Councilwoman Anthony,
Present.
Councilman Espinal,
Present.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonsalves,
Present.
Councilwoman Graves,
Present.
Deputy Majority Leader Harris,
Present.
Councilwoman Peterson,
Present.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo, Councilor Royas is absent, Councilwoman Ryan,
Present.
Majority Whip Sanchez,
Present.
Majority Leader Taylor,
Present.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas is absent, Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Present.
You have 13 present and 2 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This evening I will be giving the invocation. Will everyone please rise? So let's bow our heads in thanks to the God of all faith and out of respect and reverence to the quietude within each of us, that we may enjoy good health and prosperity in this upcoming year for ourselves, for our families, for our neighbors, for residents across the city. May our partners in government and public service, from public safety to public works and everything in between, enjoy health and be safe this year. As we do our work, let us be guided by steadfast integrity, that we be moved to leave humbly and in service to one another, to our communities, and to the city of Providence. May our work together in this chamber and in the streets of our neighborhoods be blessed, be productive, and give us each the opportunity to get to know our highest and best selves better every single day. And may we never forget the voices and experiences of people who are struggling in both issues large and small, and bring those issues front and center to our work together in this chamber. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilor Sue Anderbaugh. Counselors, welcome back. Just a few weeks ago, we were attending, I think we had 16 Christmas tree lightings in December. So I just wanted to take a moment before we get started on our agenda and move our work to just recenter us, right? So 1 year ago today, we were together, well, not today, but yesterday, I think, we were together in this chamber. We took our oaths in service of the work we do on council, in service of the city of Providence, in service of our mission. And I really want to thank you for your faith in me as a leader of this body. It has been a tremendous honor to work with you over the past year. I am very proud of the work we did and the accomplishments we have achieved so far. I want to just take a second and think about 2024 and what this year is looking like and what it could look like, right? So there's a quote that's framed on my shelf in my office. It's from Audre Lorde, who is a visionary activist. She was a poet. She was a leader. It says, "Life is very short. What we have to do must be done in the now." That's, I think, the theme of what I want to share, right? That's the theme of how we can sort of start this year, right? So towards the end of last year, we learned some really sobering news, and even in the last couple of weeks, Providence led the nation with the highest rent increases in the nation. Homelessness in Rhode Island has increased by 70% over the last 4 years. In this last quarter of 2023, evictions in Providence increased 35 to 40% of those evictions include children under the age of 18 in Providence in the last quarter of 2023. And so I want us to take a breath. I want us to have urgency in our hearts as we do our work together and address the rising needs in our city to make Providence a place where all families can thrive. And there's two things. There's so much work that we do together, and I have full faith and optimism in that work. There's two things I want to highlight, right? So let's fully engage on education this year. Let's make sure that we are listening to our students, to our parents, and to our teachers, that we are working together with the Mayor Smiley and with the state to set a path for success to return to local control. And two, let's take on the issues in front of us to address affordability, right? To make sure that we are doing what we can on the city level, that we are partnering at every way that we can with the state to challenge rising rents, to protect existing housing stock, to encourage development, right? Let's look at, later this year, we're gonna be taking on the comprehensive plan. Let's look at the comprehensive plan with an eye towards access, affordability, and equity. Let's encourage development that does the same. We could make a long list. We've got a few months together to work on that list, but one of those things is, right, let's make sure that this year's the year that we ban parking minimums in development. Also on that note, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Ryan. Tonight we're receiving the report from the Tax Commission. I think there's so much depth in that report that lays a roadmap for affordability, for equity in our tax structure that centers on development and centers on housing affordability and rent prices. And then finally, I think we all know this, but I want to make sure that we start the year knowing this, that none of us do this work alone. We count on each other, on each other's leadership, on each other's collegial friendship. We also count on the staff. And so over the last 6 months, we have really built a remarkable team on staff, and that is thanks to the leadership of Christina Brown. So I want to take a moment and thank her, because thank you. Christina has taken on this really tremendous challenge since July, built up a staff that we can be proud of, that we all, as we go about in our part-time legislating lives, can know we can count on. If we send a constituent to the office, we know that that constituent is going to get their services needs met. And so I also just want to shout out and welcome our newest staff member and give a shout of thanks to each of our council staff members. So Christina Brown is the Chief of Staff, Ann Quinterno is the Deputy Chief of Staff, Aaron Easter-Gardner, Senior Director of Policy, Parker, of course, Director of Communications, Kyle Delgado, our Director of Project Management, Melissa Cruz, Senior Director of Constituent Services, Olga Kaloyan, Senior Supervisor, Executive Scheduler, Stephanie Jordan, Scheduler, Miguel Youngs on our policy team, Sam Agunder, working now with Kyle as our project management associate, Waskar, the master of all of our tree lightings of this winter, Samantha Burnett in constituent services, Christopher Rodriguez working as the confidential executive assistant, Carla Cuellar with the Juvenile Hearing Board, and our newest member, welcome Gabriela Cantu. You are joining a family and doing great work in service of the city. And so I really want to thank our staff and the leadership of our staff. So thank you. And of course, always thank you to the leaders and the staff every day in the city clerk's office. And now, please. Please, Madam Clerk, will you read item 3?
Madam President.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Motion to waive the reading of item 3 and move approval.
Second, Madam President.
And we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Madam Clerk, please read item 4.
Madam President.
Majority Leader Taylor.
Motion to waive the reading of items 4 through 9.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or any opposed? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please note item 4 as received and refer 5 through 9 to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
And please read item 10.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 10 and pass for the second time on a roll call vote.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Miller,
Aye.
Councilor Anderbois,
Aye.
Councilwoman Anthony,
Aye.
Councilman Espinal,
Aye.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves, Deputy Majority Leader Harris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson,
Aye.
Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo,
Aye.
Councilor Royas is absent. Councilwoman Ryan,
Aye.
Majority Whip Sanchez,
Aye.
Majority Leader Taylor,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ana Vargas is absent. Councilman Oscar Vargas.
Aye.
You have 13 ayes, 2 absent. The motion carries. The matter is passed for the second time on a roll call vote.
Thank you. Please read item 11.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 11 through 20.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President. I was a little late on that. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, thank you. I rise in support of number 11, the Poor Community Scholarship Fund. I'm happy that you acknowledge and realize how 2024, we should perhaps concentrate on a little bit more on education. What this ordinance amendment does exactly that. It creates a scholarship for the kids in the Port, what we have identified as the Port Community Scholarship Fund, which would be 3 higher schools near the Port of Providence. And the reason why that is because, as you know, through the negotiations with Proport and the renewal of the lease, there was a pool of money that was allocated for community benefits, and this amendment here does not have a fiscal impact. All it does is specify the use of that money. I could not think of a better way than investing in our future, investing in kids and their education and opportunities. I am so looking forward to attending the committee hearings and going deep into this scholarship fund and discussing all the merits that it has. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman. Further discussion on items 11 through 20? Hearing none. All in favor? I'm sorry. Councilwoman Graves.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I do want to talk about 17. I think your thing is fabulous, I want to say. But I do want to talk about item 17, the sidewalks. I have some concerns, and I would like to express them here. My concern is, I think it's a good ordinance, but it's too vague and too wide. I'm a little concerned that the haves is going to use that money to fix their individual sidewalks, and the people that don't have are not going to be able to get theirs done. Having worked on sidewalks in my ward with a couple of the people there, I came to find out that there's people languishing on lists that have been on those lists for 15 years. One has been on the list for 15 years. I would hate for us to get something where the people have to have money to get it fixed, and they jump ahead, or people feel that they're jumping ahead of them after they sat on a list for 15 years trying to get their sidewalks done. I also feel like the commercial and the resident thing might be a little unfair, you know. Will be a little bit unfair, because 9 times out of 10, the person in a commercial business can afford $5,000, whereas some of these other people cannot. So those are my concerns. However, I do recognize, like I said, working on the sidewalk things, that this city needs to have their sidewalks done. I just want us to tighten it up a little bit. Either separate back out the commercial and the residents, or put some type of stipulations in, some type of monetary thing, because the one thing we don't want to appear to be doing is giving to people and jumping people ahead of people because they have the finances to do it. We have to make sure that everybody gets a fair chance. Nobody wants their child to trip over a sidewalk in front of their building, you know. So I just think that we need to be cognizant of some of the messages that we put out. And again, going back to the fact that we raise everybody's taxes and everybody's paying the taxes, then we got to make sure that it's equal all across the board for everyone. So like I said, those are my concerns. I do believe that we need to do something. I spoke to people in Pawtucket, because it is being done in Pawtucket. I went and spoke to several people in Pawtucket, and those are the concerns that came back to me. That a couple of them said, I don't have the money to get my sidewalks done, you know, but this person's getting their sidewalks done all the time, you know, because they own other properties. We can't do that. We really, really can't do that, because it's just not fair. And I refuse to have to tell people, oh, well, yeah, well, I understand, but, you know. So if we can just tighten it up, I would vote for it 100%. But right now, the wording I'm really, really uneasy with the wording of the bill, the ordinance.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Madam Clerk, please note that Councilman Reyes is present.
So
and
noted.
Any further discussion on items 11 through 20? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please refer items 11 through 16 to the Committee on Finance. Item 17, refer to the Committee on Ordinances. 18 through 20 to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
And item 21, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 21 and pass on a voice vote, and I'd also like to have it read into the record from the sponsor.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 21? Councilwoman, please, Peterson.
Council President, thank you. I'll try to read this fast so that my voice doesn't bail on me. Councilors, I rise today in appreciation of the work being done by Director Oscar Paz at the Newcomer Academy. If you have a chance to go and see and take an opportunity to do a walkthrough over at the Newcomer Academy to find out what this program is about and just see how important it is to students, I really, really encourage you to do so. I was very moved and appreciative of the work that's being done over there, and I know that you will be too. Oscar Paz is a longtime constituent of Ward 14. He's a PPSC veteran of 29 years and the executive director of the Newcomer Academy at PCTA. Principal Paz hails from Guatemala and started his PPSD career as a teacher at Classical High School. And from there, he served in different roles at Hope, Mount Pleasant, Central, and the Newcomer Academy at Nathan Bishop. In 2023, he was appointed the executive director of the Newcomer Academy at PCTA. The Newcomer Academy is a true definition of meeting students where they're at. The Academy provides an alternative education program to support newcomers and multi-language learners. They work to meet students' graduation requirements in an accelerated program. They work on things like language acquisition, core curriculum understanding, career and technical education. Most importantly, they recognize the importance of providing a flexible schedule to support each student's academic, family, and work needs. When I was there, I happened to do a walkthrough with Superintendent Montañez and Director Scott and Director Paz, and it happened to be that really rainy, windy Monday in December where like you couldn't walk out with your umbrella because it was like basically falling apart. And I was greeted there by Director Paz and the other two, and also some students that were coming in who had Ubered in from wherever they live and shared an Uber after having worked a 12-hour shift the night before. And they just needed to get to class to be able to go and do their version of what learning is. And I was able to meet the teachers and understand a little bit more about how they work and how late the teachers are working and extend into Saturday morning classes. And I was really, really just impressed with how the teachers came, and this entire program in and of itself met these kids at their capacities to be able to make sure that they get through. There's a trades program involved in there that I was so impressed with. I was very touched by the work that's being done over there, and again, I really do encourage you to go. The dedication, long hours, and understanding of individuals like Director Paz and his team at the Newcomer Academy do not go unnoticed. Despite our school system facing its continued challenges, positive aspects like the Newcomer Academy should be acknowledged and built upon. The resilience and commitment that programs like the Academy provide highlight the work that continues to support our kids day in and day out. I've witnessed the dedication teachers and staff exhibit to their students firsthand, and they foster such a supportive and caring environment, not just at Newcomer Academy, but also in the 3 schools in my ward as well. The unwavering commitment from teachers gives me a great sense of hope as we continue to navigate the take-back of our public school system. Additionally, recognizing unique programs like the Newcomer Academy that contribute positively to the students' experiences, in my opinion, highlight areas of strength within PPSD. Emphasizing the commitments to ongoing improvements, collaboration among educators, and maintaining the focus on student well-being are the exact foundation for positive change. Director Paz and the Newcomer Academy exude these elements, and I'm proud to support the work being done to enhance every student's educational experience there. Director Paz, thank you for your commitment to our multi-language learners in the Newcomer Academy. Thanks. Oh, yes, yes. If you'll all just stay really quickly for a picture with Director Paz and a citation on our behalf, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any further discussion on item 21?
Madam President?
Pro Tem Pichardo, please.
Thank you, Madam President, and I do have to rise on this one, particularly because Oscar Paz is a friend that I met right when we were in our early 20s at CCRI with a set of young people who were passionate about education, passionate about making a life better in our lives for our families, and also to make our parents proud. CCRI was that foundation as immigrants. He from Guatemala, myself from the Dominican Republic, and others that were there, really bonded. And people believed in us at CCRI, like the Access program, and from there went on to become a leader in our community. Oscar Paz represents for new immigrants and past immigrants the proud moments that our parents will speak about, the immigrant experience in the state of Rhode Island and the United States. That when immigrants are given the support, when immigrants are given the resources, they too can thrive and grow and make our parents successful, get involved in public service. And an example today is our good friend and our leader in the new Newcomers Academy that was established by him, by the leadership of the superintendent, of course the support with the many staff. So I congratulate you. You make me proud, you make us proud, and the LASSO leadership that represent at the CCRI, whether at Rhode Island College or URI, continue to make great contribution to the state of Rhode Island, particularly in the city of Providence. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Any further discussion on item 21? Director Paz, thank you for joining us. Superintendent, it's always a pleasure to have you in this chamber. Thank you both. Madam Clerk, will you please read item 21?
Whereas Providence's first ever Newcomer Academy was founded in 2022 to provide exceptional career and technical education opportunities that cater to the unique needs of multilingual learners from diverse backgrounds. And whereas Executive Director Oscar Paz has been involved with running the Newcomer Academy since it was established, and he has shown incredible leadership and a profound ability to connect with the many diverse students who pass through the academy. And whereas, having spent over 29 years living in Providence and working in the Providence Public School District as a teacher and administrator, it is Director Paz's deep professional experience, as well as his own personal experience as an immigrant, that informs his exceptional ability to transform the lives of so many students. And whereas, as the city has worked to adapt to the changing landscape of our student body, the Newcomer Academy and Executive Director Oscar Paz have been essential to creating a learning environment capable of meeting all the needs of Providence's youth. And whereas, the Newcomer Academy prepares students for the careers, college, and life. And whereas, they are career-oriented through their critical role in career and technical education, which equips students with practical skills, hands-on experience, and real-world knowledge that will help Providence's future. And whereas, they are college-oriented by providing students with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to attend college and become active contributors to their communities. And whereas, they are life-oriented in their commitment to foster an environment of respect, understanding, and cooperation, promoting lifelong learning and embracing the richness of diversity in all aspects of our educational endeavors. And whereas, our city and our city's youth are made undeniably stronger by the work of the Newcomer Academy and Executive Oscar Paz. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Providence formally recognizes and celebrates the contributions of the Newcomer Academy and Executive Director Oscar Paz. Be it further resolved that upon passage a copy of this resolution be sent to the Office of the Mayor, to the Providence Public School Department, the Rhode Island Department of Education, Oscar Paz, and the Newcomer Academy.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item 22, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 22.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 22? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, item 23, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 23 and pass on a voice vote and refer back to the Board of Contract and Supply.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 23? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item 24, please.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 24 and receive and approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Item 24, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 25,
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 25 and receive and approve.
Second that motion, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second on item 25. Any discussion? Councilwoman Ryan.
Thank you, Council President. I'm very proud to deliver the final report and recommendations from the 9-member Special Commission for Taxation and Revenue that was our charge. I'd like to just read the names of the committee members, should you have forgotten. Myself, Vice Chair Michael DeBiase, Councilor Sue Andebois from Ward 3, served. Pedro Espinal, Ward 10, not 7, served. Lawrence Mancini, our Chief Financial Officer, Tom Segoris, Sharon Carnard-Wells, Jane Driver, and Robert Stoltzman. Our clerks were Angela Harris and Yuli Polanka. The commission worked diligently, as many know, for the past 4 months with experts and industry professionals, and were charged with developing a more equitable and fair tax structure for Providence residents and business owners. Commission members reviewed our enabling legislation, revenue streams from all sources, the city's taxing and levying structure, inequities in the current structure, and considered alternative structures and sources of revenue for the city moving forward. The recommendations are essentially a work plan that will require further collaboration between the council and the administration, General Assembly approval on some components, and other legislative work. The Commission recommended 10 components to our report, and I'm going to go through each of them kind of briefly, but I just want to touch upon them. The first and foremost is to return to a bifurcated tax structure, which calls for owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied residential tax rates on 1 to 5 unit homes. For the past few decades, as many of us know, the city has dealt with the significant tax property increases by employing a homestead, a percentage homestead exemption. The problem with that, the lower priced properties get less of an exemption or value than the higher priced ones do. But that's what we had to do. And as all of you know, a budget is dropped by the administration. The Council Finance Committee works diligently on many hours and has a very short window to vet the budget, make recommendations, try to address the challenges or try to make it work better for the people of Providence. That is our charge, to be good stewards of our budget and tax revenues. We only have a short period of time, so often what we have to deal with is using our existing enabling registration and figuring out the best way we can how we make it work and not be too burdensome. Unfortunately, that model that we've employed for the past few years, again, to deal with rapidly increasing property values, resulted in our apartment buildings paying an undue burden, an undue share. The Commission saw the math and the high prices that landlords were paying, owners were paying of those residential apartment units. The result, obviously, was it was driving rents up. So that's contributed. You talked earlier about us focusing on housing and rentals, rental costs. But we acted, we did what we could do at the time with the enabling legislation that we had. The wonderful thing about this commission, and I applaud and give full credit to the council president, it was a priority of hers to make sure, as well as the mayor, to make sure we could put together a comprehensive review in enough time so that we could go to the legislature in January, at the beginning of the season, and ask for a comprehensive plan to help us, to give us all of the tools that we need, not just onesies, one at a time, every other tax season, that often don't get heard or are submitted too late in time. So really, we're getting ahead of the 8 ball here, and I truly want to thank each one of the commission members, and particularly our council people, because they were very familiar with the challenges that we have. So again, a fair, predictable, transparent tax structure simply sets fair and affordable and reasonable rates by property type. It's a simple concept. So the Commission is also recommending that we advocate for enabling legislation that would allow the city to create additional categories of real property with corresponding tax rates. For example, some new categories could be apartment buildings of 6 to 10. We've talked about it, we've done the math, and depending on fiscal constraints, we should also look at all apartment buildings because they're all residential. It might need a separate tax category on its own, a separate tax rate, but that is obviously depending on fiscal constraints, and it needs to be reviewed during the budget process. And the other category is short-term rental properties should be taxed as an investment property. Why? Because they are. So in short, it's truth in taxation, taxing an apple as an apple, an orange as an orange, in recognizing that Providence has a number of short-term rentals. Providence has a number of properties that house people, families, in rental situations. They're not commercial entities. They shouldn't be paying a commercial tax. The commission recommended adding a consumption-based tax to reduce the city's reliance on property tax and acknowledge city services are utilized by people who come to visit us as the capital city. This was not an idea that was born out of this commission. It was something that actually was talked about and recommended back when we had a federal study done back in 2014, 2015, I think. Might have been 14. But the recommendation was born from that, where as the capital city, there's potential for revenue that could come through charging an admission tax for concerts and theater, and a parking tax or a parking surcharge on our lots. Things of that nature were contemplated. It's recommended that we should look at that. There is a body of work that was done when the NRN study was completed. The concept is that we further that analysis and try to look at that as an additional revenue source, again, to provide relief to our taxpayers and recognize that we are a capital city and we have wonderful cultural events people come and enjoy. And that takes a toll on us, whether it's our police, our streets, our roads, our sidewalks. That was one recommendation. The other recommendation was to expand key exemptions for vulnerable populations, especially during reval years, to smooth the impact of increased value on those who need it the most. Again, on those who need it the most. It's valuable. They're very, very costly to do so, but it's critical that we do so. It's sound tax policy. Currently, we provide, as everybody knows, flat credits or exemptions for qualified seniors, veterans, folks with disabilities, and so forth. We need to expand those exemptions. We're suggesting that you add a flat dollar owner-occupied credit or exemption to help smooth increases in reval years as needed. Could be needs-based as well. But that will help, and that's an important tool. Central Falls has that flat tax exemption. So it'd be a tax exemption on owner-occupied property. Another recommendation was a very important recommendation we spent a lot of time talking about, and the council president kind of mentioned it in her introductory remarks, to return vacant and underutilized properties to productive use. There are many vacant and abandoned properties throughout the city. This is an immediate need, and it needs to be a priority to provide homes, but also to expand our tax base. This effort is already being talked about and welcomed by members of the General Assembly and the Council President and the Mayor of the City of Providence. But it's sound policy, and it's sound policy to develop a meaningful tax surcharge on vacant and utilized property to incentivize development. There are taxes, and Councilwoman Anderbaugh led the discussion on this and was a proponent of this. There is a tax, but it's not high enough. People have vacant property that's lying dormant. We want them to develop them. We want to have a charge significant enough that people will develop that property, and that will bring increased revenues. It will bring more homes for us. Another one is to increase the tax designation. This is a tough one to say. Classification, certification efforts. So we're asking the administration to ramp up activities, efforts and use all the modernized efforts that exist to make sure that we properly evaluate and categorize this property. Again, if you recall, when I started, I said that a fair, predictable, and transparent tax structure simply sets fair, affordable, and reasonable rates by property type. So we need internal controls to make sure that we're classifying our property accordingly, that if you deserve an owner-occupied rate, that you get an owner-occupied rate, and if you don't deserve one, you don't get one. And then there are challenges with the classifications for short-term rentals, obviously, more work needs to be done on that. But that's kind of at the premise of this, that we need to increase our efforts. Continue efforts to monetize the port. Councilman Espinal led that effort, as well as this council body, to make sure that monetizing the port was a critical component. We started off the year with that, and it provided tremendous revenue to us. That provides relief to taxpayers. That was hardly negotiated. That was negotiated hard, excuse me, and we're all benefiting from that, and we'll benefit from it for years to come. And hopefully we'll have also have a education scholarship program come from that. That was negotiated hard as well. We talked about fees, fines, and collection right oversight and enforcement activity and personnel. So the idea here is during the budget process, and it was recommended by our auditor that by Q3 of every fiscal year, of every year, we ask that the department directors come forth and give a report to the council through the finance committee of all the fees, fines, the collection rates, and compare and contrast us to other municipalities. Are our fees and fines fair? Are some high? Are some too low? Whatever, and adjust them, and have it be part of the budget process. That will also bring in additional revenues. Another recommendation was, and an important one, is to plan, truly, earnestly plan for a reduction in commercial tax rate to improve Providence's competitiveness and attract new commercial businesses. The Commission recommended a 5-year plan to do so. It will take us that long to step it down, but having the highest commercial tax rate is not something that Providence wants to be known for. And that is a statistic that we own. It hurts our growth. We have to do something about it. I've heard as a council person now for 8-9 years that we need to bring it down, and we've never put forth a viable plan. We need to do that, and I think that this council and the administration are committed to working together to make that happen. High commercial tax rate is absolutely a barrier to entry, and the council has worked very hard to create a workaround. Here's another workaround. We talked about how the homestead was the famous workaround to provide relief and keep people in homes. Well, in order to attract development, because we had boarded up properties, what did we do? This council worked very, very hard and created tax stabilization agreements. And in short, they're very laborious. They take a lot of time. The finance committee labors over them. The administration, the finance teams of both the council and the finance work laboriously on them. And then we have to audit compliance for them. So it's a lot of work. But it's important because it was the only way we could attract development in our city. We had boarded up properties when TSAs became the norm. But they were given birth because of the high commercial tax rate. I'm not saying we need to do away with TSAs. They have a value, and in certain instances we need TSAs. But it shouldn't be every developer gets a TSA because we can't figure out how to keep our commercial tax rate affordable and fair. And we all know in development, time is money. Oftentimes developers come forward, and by the time they go through the machinations of negotiating for a TSA or a tax agreement, the deal is gone, the rates have changed, and the deal's not doable anymore. So we lose people, we lose development. We have frustrated developers. We need to truly embrace developers, to embrace development. That's how we broaden our tax base. That will lessen the burden on our single-family property owners or our residential property owners. And finally, a request to increase our state pilot payments to the city from 27%, which is the current charge by statute, established decades ago, to increase it to 30%. This one has interest. The League of City and Towns have included this in their recommendations this year. I've heard other legislators talk about it. I think it's important for us. The news on that is Providence, Providence gets about 80% of the state dollars, but we also have a lot of tax-exempt nonprofits in the city of Providence. So, but what that means to us in last year's budget, FY 2004, we did receive 27%, and I'm going to go on record and say there's been years where we haven't gotten the full 27%. But in this past budget, or the current budget that we're living in now, that equates to $37.5 million. If it was funded at 30%, we would have received an additional $4.2 million. So there's a value of $4.2 million in that. I think it's a serious ask, but it's an important one. Municipalities need help from the state, and we need to look at that. So that's pretty much all of the recommendations. I can honestly say this has been truly a collaborative effort between the council and the administration to develop a predictable and fair tax structure for Providence. I'd like to thank each and every commissioner, and particularly my council members. It's important to have council people on commissions because we see a different side of things, where our charge is finding the balance and balancing the budget. So I appreciated the support that I received from my council colleagues. But I also want to thank the finance teams of both the council and the administration. We devoted many, many hours over the past 4 months to complete this analysis. It was a deep dive into our tax structure. I don't believe a commission, there's been tax commissions called for by the council body, and they're typically, they don't have this broad of an ask. They might have the same time frame, but this was a hefty request. It was a comprehensive review in a short period of time. I also want to thank the professionals that came and testified. We had some tremendous testimony, and I was amazed at their willingness to provide data, to provide supportive materials for their commentary, and we truly relied upon their testimony. Much of what is in this report is a direct outcome of the recommendations and the asks that we received through testimony. Again, these recommendations address the tax challenges the city has experienced over the years head on, and it creates a predictable, fair, and equitable tax structure, but most importantly, it sets the table for us to continue to work collaboratively with the administration, with our colleagues up at the General Assembly, for a stronger, fiscally sound Providence. And I thank you for the opportunity to serve the council in this capacity.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and thank you to all of the members of the commission. Councilwoman Anderbaugh.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to rise and acknowledge Councilwoman Ryan for her leadership on this commission. It was a hard and fast 4 months together, and she was even there the day after becoming a grandma, and so real strong commitment. And I also want to encourage all our colleagues to really dig into the document. You'll notice it's quite short, but as you heard in Councilwoman Ryan's remarks just now, there's a lot in there. There's a lot that went into the discussion. There'll be a lot of work that comes out of it in terms of what comes next and how this actually gets implemented. So some really good ideas, some good next steps as we go into this year's budget process. I also want to, oh, he's still there, good. Aaron was our lovely Senior Director of Policy, was at all of the meetings helping provide data and information, which I know really helped strengthen the process. So always more to do, but we're really off to a running start. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and Councilman Espinal for participating as well.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion on item 25. Councilman Espinal.
Thank you, Madam President. I also like to rise, not just as a council person, but as a witness. As a witness to Councilor Ryan's tremendous work in this. As she described, It was a deep dive into city finance and tax structure, and there was countless hours. It was such a great effort. Thank you for your role. Thank you for your leadership, and of course to our colleague, Councilor Underwood, and everyone that took part of this. It was countless hours, but well worth it. It was a great game. Right.
Thank you. Further discussion on item 25? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, please note item 25 is received and approved, and thank you, Councilwoman, for your leadership.
Thank you, so noted.
Item 26.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of items 26 through 43.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 26 through 43? Items and pending suits, 30 through 43. Please note as received.
So noted.
And item 44.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 44 and pass on a voice vote.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 45.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to waive the reading of item 45 and pass on a unanimous rising vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 45? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item 45 passes.
Madam President,
Majority Leader Taylor.
motion to suspend Rule 16B of the Rules of the City Council in order to take matters not appearing on the printed docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Majority Leader Taylor.
Motion to waive the reading of item 46 through 48.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Items 46 through 48. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Please refer items 46 through 48 to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
And Madam President, if there's no further business, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Joan V. Buchanan, Edward Corvell, Maureen Montero, Eileen Rayo, Mama Lemon from Mr. Lemon. Ooh, this is going to be a tough one here, but Eduvigas. Go ahead, say it. Do you know it? Eduvigas Monsanto Dominguez.
Second, Madam President.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned. Happy New Year, everyone.
Don't forget the picture.
Oh, and we're going to stick around for a quick picture. Thank you, Councilwoman.